So I've been asked to make a video like this for a while. If you've seen my past videos, you know I've been very reluctant to do it because I had always thought that my story isn't very interesting and there's really no point to doing it. But I thought about it and there are some interesting points, so I figured I'd share my experience with coming out. Woo! I didn't write any notes or anything, and this is all off the top of my head, so if any part of this makes no sense to you, feel free to leave a comment or send me an email asking me a question just if you want any clarification on what I'm saying. Being gay for me wasn't something that I decided or something that I randomly had an epiphany and said, aha! I saw the light. I know my sexuality. It's always something I've kind of been aware of even from a young age, and I think the earliest I kind of said to myself, like, yes, I am gay, I know for a fact that I am gay, was like 11, so there was never any confusion there, and there was never a time in my life where I said, oh man, I need to be straight, I hate who I am. I never went through any sort of difficulty like that, so, sorry. So my coming out was actually a process that began in like the 7th grade, and there are 2 separate times where I came out, and then I sucked myself back into the closet because it just didn't feel right at all. The first time was in the 7th grade, the second time was in the 10th grade, and then I fully decided to come out in my senior year of high school, which was this year. All throughout middle school and like early high school, I was a really, really big skateboarder. It was my life. Yeah, it was just the biggest part of who I was. It was my obsession. So the summer going into the 8th grade, I was supposed to go to a skateboarding camp, and the only way my parents would pay for it was if I maintained straight A's throughout the entire year. There was a time, like the 3rd quarter of school, where I got like 1 or 2 B's, and my parents sat me down, and they told me I couldn't go to the skateboarding camp anymore. So at this point, I was freaking out. I was like, fuck. I need to go to the skateboarding camp. It's like, it's the dream camp. It has all these skate parks. I need to go to it because I love skateboarding. At one point my dad asked me, like, is there a reason your grades are dropping? Like, are you being bullied? Like, what's happening? Like, is something distracting you? And like, I didn't know what to say. I was like, oh, what do I do? You know what I mean? Like, 12-year-old me was like, oh shit, oh shit, oh shit. At that point I was just like, yeah, I think I'm gay or something like that. I don't remember exactly what I said. And then I started bursting out into tears because I was fucking 12 years old. I wasn't ready for my parents to know that. I started freaking out. My dad just grabbed me, he hugged me really tight, and that was like kind of like the first sign that I saw like my parents didn't care, you know what I mean? Later on, my father spoke to me, and I had told him that, you know, I didn't necessarily like girls, but I didn't necessarily like guys. I just hadn't hit puberty yet, and I didn't like either. So that was enough for him. Sucked back into the closet, I was straight again. Fast forward to the 10th grade, 3 of my best friends and I were all sitting in a circle when, of course, they started interrogating me and questioning me and asking me, you know, who I liked. I hadn't had a girlfriend at this point. I had never even went near girls, and they just kept asking, you know, Pano, who do you like? Who do you like? You gotta tell us there's somebody you have to like. And I was like, no, there's nobody I like. I'm telling you, I do not like anybody. So then eventually I was just kind of like, you know, guys, actually, like, don't make a big deal out of it or anything, but like, I'm gay. And I knew my friends wouldn't care, but they all started freaking out. They all started going, oh my god, that's so cute. Well, like, it was 2 guys and 1 girl. Or it was 2 girls and 1 guy, and the 2 girls were like, oh my god, that's so cute, like, blah, blah, blah. They started making a big fuss out of it, and at this point I was like, oh, you've got to be fucking kidding me. Like, this is not what I want at all. And in my group, I'm kind of like the jokester, so my friend turns to me and goes, you better not be fucking joking with us. And then after she said that, I started bursting out into laughter and said, haha, I'm kidding, like, blah, blah, blah. So, sucked back into the closet again. I went through the rest of my sophomore year, my junior year, didn't go near girls, just didn't really speak about girls. My friends always kind of assumed I was asexual, I guess. They didn't really talk to me about it. I try not to be narcissistic, but this is the year that people started telling me that I was good looking or whatever, I don't know. It's still something I'm getting used to. But with that, there was one girl, and I'm not going to say her name because I don't want to embarrass her, but she'd know who she was if she saw this video, started to kind of form this crush around me. And one of my best friends kept pushing me to go out with her, and I couldn't come up with excuses because I had no excuse. She was one of the prettiest girls in school, blah, 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 you know, all that stuff. So one night I was texting my friend and I was like, listen, I cannot go out with this girl, and I have a legitimate reason. And she said, why? And I said, because I'm gay. Didn't give a shit. She didn't care. She wasn't expecting it, but she definitely didn't care. And she was like the first person I told, and that's how that went. So she was the first person I told. I never told anyone after that for like a few months, and it's just a secret I kind of kept between me and her. I could tell her everything. Then, a few months later, I was sitting with 2 of my really close friends in a car. So my one friend, he goes, you know, Pano, you never open up to us about anything. You don't tell us anything. And they just like, they both started going at me like, oh yeah, like we don't, like, you're a friend, but like we don't know anything personal about you. So then that's when I told them at that point, again, they didn't care. They didn't make a big deal out of it. And these 2 people were actually the 2 of the people that I told sophomore year. And They didn't make a big deal out of it this time, so it went really well. After that, I started telling more and more of my friends. Nobody gave a shit. It was no big deal. And at that point, there were two barriers I had to get over for myself, was telling my best friend and telling my parents and my family. And those two were things that I thought I would never do before going to college. I was like, fuck no, that's not happening. What happened with my best friend, basically my best friend, he's like the straightest person you'll meet in your entire life. And I knew he had nothing against gay people. I knew like he's a staunch liberal, he supports gay rights and everything, I know all that, but for some reason I thought that if I was gay, he would look at me differently and wouldn't want to hang out with me anymore. I didn't even have to tell him, because one of my friends told him, assuming that I had told him already, and he texted me one night and he said, you know, there's a rumor going around that you're gay. And then I said, well, that's not exactly a rumor, it's true. And he was like, he got pissed at me because I hadn't told him earlier and I told all my other friends. And he started making jokes like, oh, aren't you afraid you're not going to get into heaven and stuff, which was hilarious because he doesn't believe in God, he's an atheist. And that went really well with him. He literally did not give a shit. That was perfectly fine. My name was kind of like the talk of the school for a while. People were really surprised that I was gay throughout my school. People were kind of like, I don't know, just really surprised about it. Because, you know, I obviously don't really act gay, you know? But that went fine. I literally have never been bullied once. Nobody has said anything bad about me, as far as I know. And nobody has a problem with it. It's perfectly fine. Now, what happened with my parents was, I had always known my dad, like, follows my online activity, like what I uploaded to YouTube and my tweets and stuff like that. So I'd always kind of tweeted to people hoping that he would read it and just know and I wouldn't have to tell him. So one day, my mom came up to me and she goes, I need to ask you something. And I was like, what? And I knew exactly what she was going to ask me. And she said, are you gay? And I just said, yes. And after that, she was just like, all right. She didn't care at all. And I asked her if my father knew, and she just said yes. And I said, how did she know? And she goes, he's the one who told me, you know, he follows you online and stuff like that. And I was like, all right, that makes sense, yeah. So my parents are perfectly okay with it. They didn't have any discussions with me. They didn't make a big deal out of it. There was no emotion behind it. It was just fine. And then the same thing with like my little brother. Like one day he's like, there's kids at my school saying that you were gay, and I just said I am, and he didn't give a shit. And my extended family found out. They didn't care. It was all fine. At this point, I'm completely out. Everybody knows. Fine. No emotion, no crying, no nervousness. Just, I came out completely and nothing happened. I didn't lose any friends. My family still treated me the exact same way, and I was just a happy camper. So I think what my story can show you is that coming out doesn't have to be a big deal. You can make it what you want it to be. It doesn't have to be this big event where everyone's emotional and crying and somebody freaks out and you kick out of your house. It doesn't have to be that way. I mean, obviously, I don't know who's in your life. I don't know how people think. I don't know how the people in your life think. But I can tell you that people aren't necessarily going to care as much as you think they're going to. As always, don't come out if you don't feel ready to do it. If you're in an environment where it wouldn't be safe to come out, just don't do it. Just wait till you're in a safe environment. If you have any more questions or you want to ask me something in private, my email's in my description box on my channel, or you can like leave a comment or whatever. It doesn't matter to me. And that's it. That's my coming out story. Thanks for watching. Bye.